I'm chair dancing,
Hey.
y'all.
Yeah, you know what's funny? My husband's sitting over there and he's going like this. Hey, how are you guys
Hello.
doing?
Hey, everybody.
Good. Long time no see. So
Yes.
I didn't really announce it, but we skipped last week because we had Kim's son's birthday, and it was also Halloween, so it was probably not good.
Halloween, yeah.
I did not have any trick-or-treaters. I never get any.
Us either.
Yeah.
Yeah, us
I
either.
think a lot of people do the trunk or treat stuff a lot now, or they drive to the wealthier neighborhoods because I guess they get better stuff. I don't know, but I haven't had, like, one year I had like maybe 2 or 3, and most years I don't have any. So
Well, we usually get a bunch, but this year it rained, so I just took my littlest son, Jack. We just went to, probably about 6 houses around us, and then he's like, okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
So we didn't even hand out candy this year. We just kept it all for the boys.
Yeah.
Oh, and then let's see, Saturday night my son had a Halloween party at his house, and he made his barbecue, and so he didn't have sauce on it or anything. So I mean, it was perfectly carnivore. So he's an awesome cook. And so I had a pile of barbecue, and he also sent some home with me, which was great. And we dressed up, and I went something I haven't done in years, which was great. Went on a hayride.
Oh, that's fun.
So it was great. We had a fantastic time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I used to love hay rides.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that used to be a tradition. We'd go, somebody always, where we went, there was a tractor and stuff, and we would just, go. And of course it was, the more fun it was like when you'd hit the bumps and everybody would kind of, be holding on and stuff. I mean, it was just great. So I relived some of my youth.
Yeah, that was, I feel like that was like hay rides were a big thing when we were younger.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I don't ever hear anything about hay rides.
So
but we used to have them a lot.
We have a farm that's maybe 5 minutes away from our house that has a lot. They have, they've got the pumpkin patch. They've got, a whole bunches like the corn maze and stuff, but they've got a zombie hay ride.
Oh, wow.
And so you go on the hay ride and you can shoot paintballs at the zombies.
Oh,
how fun.
Yeah, they jump out at you and you can shoot paintballs at them.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I guess just a plain old hay ride isn't exciting enough anymore.
Gotta have zombies.
We gotta have zombies, right?
Get ready for that zombie apocalypse.
That's right. Yep. That's right. So everybody in our area is ready for the zombie apocalypse. We get training every October.
Yeah, that's great training.
Yeah. So,
well, guys, I decided this time I would park in the front of the lot. So I'm parked right up across from the school. So
Good.
Hopefully you don't see any kind of weird stuff going on this time, but
yeah. So I don't know if any of you guys that are here right now watched last time, but Kim sent us screenshots like afterwards of this guy with a ski mask, like
two guys,
but I could definitely see the one right behind out her rear view mirror.
Yeah.
And this was during our stream.
Yeah. And there was a point in the video where I went like this.
Like,
oh my goodness.
I was just like, oh my God, I hope they don't see me in here. I'm sure it was a fashion statement, just trying to look cool, but it looked like two guys.
What statement is that?
People wear those, I can't remember what they call them. They don't call them ski masks. They call them something else. And it's like a fashion thing now.
Yeah.
To me, it gives, I'm robbing a bank.
Yeah.
There's one of the pictures.
Yeah.
There's the other picture.
Yeah. So that was a little scary, guys. I'm sorry.
That's a lot scary to me.
Oh, you know what? I'm not even streaming. I'm not even streaming to my audience. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna fix it. Okay, you fix it, and I'll just kind of give everyone the rundown of where we're at. So I don't know if there's anybody new watching, but I always want to at least let them know what we're doing, just in case.
Yep.
So we are going through this book. It is a textbook.
Yes.
It is a very big textbook. It's called Ketogenic: The Science of Therapeutic Carbohydrate Restriction in Human Health. And unlike a book club where you read ahead, we read as we go. So if you've ever been interested in reading this book, but just don't really have the patience for it, you can just look at us. So we take turns reading and we discuss and we interrupt and we take forever to get through it because we're talking so much.
It's like, what does that word mean?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So my screen says we're having trouble streaming to YouTube. So
I don't.
I see two channels streaming from my perspective. I mean, three. Sorry, all three of us.
It's giving a warning, or it's giving an error message on my end. I may have to.
On my end, it says that it's streaming to your channel.
Okay.
So if anybody who's here is watching on Kim's channel, or even if you're not, go to Kim's channel and put a comment for us and let us know, a thumbs up or something.
Yeah.
That you can actually see this on Kim's channel. So Carnivore Nurse Kim. And hopefully that'll set your mind at ease.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some feedback here.
Yeah. Okay, so I show that we left off on page 81 on section 2.3. Is that what you guys?
That's what I have.
Okay. And I did get the slide deck all. Let me just quickly go over to find where we're at. Okay, that's the next one we're going to be looking at.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not streaming on my channel. Guess maybe I can. Will I be able to get it after and then just post it?
I can get you a download and send it to you.
That'd be fine.
No worries. Okay. All right, Kim, do you want to start reading? Just because it's getting dark.
Sorry, I was checking my YouTube. Where are we at?
2.3 on page 81.
I'm gonna see Amber O'Hearn. Amber O'Hearn wrote this
2.3.
section.
Amber O'Hearn. Okay.
Yeah.
Physiological. Hold on, I have to get my glasses on. Physiological ketosis of the fed state, biochemical and nutritional aspects. Amber O'Hearn. Ketogenic diets, KDs, are often compared to fasting and even said to mimic fasting, but the ketogenic state does not require abstaining from food or malnutrition of any kind. Given that infants and young children are often in ketosis even without dietary restrictions, ketosis is completely compatible with growth and high levels of nutrient intake. In this chapter, we will begin by orienting ourselves in the fasting phases, beginning before fasting begins and assuming a glucose-based metabolism. Following that, we will go over ketone bodies in greater detail, including how they are produced biochemically, in what concentrations and proportions, and what they are used for. Some implications of various energy substrates and fat and protein proportions will be identified.
So I didn't know. I knew that infants are born. I heard that infants are born in ketosis. And I definitely had a question in my mind about how long does that last? And
I mean, I think it would last until they give them that glucose water in the nursery.
Maybe.
Yeah, like if they're breastfed, I've heard that they're in ketosis most of the time, but now I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
But I think they give them that glucose water, even if they're breastfeeding. I'm not sure. I'm not positive. I don't work in that area.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But I know when they do little boys, if they have a
circumcision.
I'm like, circ. If they have a circumcision, I know that they give them glucose water right after that.
Oh, interesting.
So
yeah, might as well feed that wound some sugar, right?
Yeah, gotta speed the healing.
I guess maybe that's something that I knew and forgot. But I wonder why they give them glucose water. I mean,
because it gets them to stop screaming in agony, basically.
Oh, is that the reason?
Yeah, because they're literally they are inconsolable. Have you never heard one? Have you never heard a little boy that just had that done? The cries.
Well, my son, my dad. Shoot, crap, Carrie. My ex-husband actually walked in on accident to the room where they were doing my son's circumcision, and he said if he had known that it was that traumatic, that we wouldn't have done it. I mean, I just thought it was it's a shame how ignorant people are.
I
In
I
terms
wish
of,
I
I
would
just
have.
didn't know.
I wish I would have known now what I or known then what I know now, and I
Yeah.
think I would have made a different decision.
Yeah, my son, we adopted him. We got him when he was 4. And at that point, the decision had been made by whoever previously.
Yeah.
And so so I never did experience that. I'm actually glad. I think that if I had been able to get pregnant and I had my own, it would have been something that I would have wrestled with for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wrestled with it, but the part of me that didn't wrestle with it was just the part of me who had been trained that, it was for cleanliness and, prevention of disease, and which I'm not really so sure that I buy into all that. But that part of me, it was for, that. And then also, so that a boy will look like his daddy, like, I mean, since when are boys going to go around looking at their dad?
Right.
I mean,
like, are they going to be at the gym one day in the shower and go, wait a minute, are you really my dad?
Yeah. In 22 years of having 4 boys, I don't think I've ever been aware of any of my boys seeing their dad.
Yeah. I just thought that it was what you were supposed to do. I know that sounds terribly naive, but
we were all a little naive back then too,
Yeah.
So I wonder if that really is what tends to knock them out of ketosis initially, or do they go back into it if they're breastfed?
I think they go back in.
I mean, they would definitely go back in.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a societal thing, and I think that it's been influenced by religious aspects, and I really feel like it's something that as far as like how they made the cornflakes to try to and discourage meat eating so people wouldn't be carnal. I think that's another reason for, I mean, I don't just think this is actually, I've read that it's actually another reason for, basically genital mutilation of boys. It's to decrease sensation so that they don't, masturbate as often. So
maybe. Hey, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
She joins us right when we're talking about circumcision.
About masturbation.
Baby boys.
Sorry, 2 nurses up here. Nothing's off limits, right?
But it is interesting, though, about things that you sort of do just because you think you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And of course, I think as you get older and you start being exposed to more information, then you start kind of thinking for yourself. And I think also that the internet is a huge, and of course, I'm not saying everything you see on the internet is true or anything like that. That's not what I'm getting at. But it gives you more information and things that you can actually read up on, and then you can make up your own mind.
Yeah.
And
but
I just did it. Honestly, I never thought, I mean, it was just like, I just thought that was what you were supposed to do. And I had heard the argument about the cleanliness, and I did not remember about them giving them glucose water, though. I may have known that at the time and just forgot, but I didn't remember that. But that's
interesting.
Wow. So get them hooked on that sugar really early. Right. I mean, that's think about it. It's a traumatic time, and and you're in pain, and then all of a sudden they give you this glucose water, and it's like, oh, sugar. Ooh, this is good. And already that early in life, I mean, theoretically, that's probably one of the well, that is like the first thing that you're exposed to in terms of like, oh, this makes me feel better.
It lights up their brain.
Yeah.
You were comforted by that sugar,
Right.
as
Early
a wee
on.
little baby,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Let's
something
see.
when you think about that.
Yeah. Amy says, because you mentioned religious, male circumcision is related to the Old Testament more than related to anything. Yeah, it was a Jewish. It was.
Well, it depends on what religion you are too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
everybody's Christian.
It was a Jewish thing, I think, originally.
But are there some that don't then? I mean, that like, are there religions that just don't? I wonder.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I've not really.
The only religion I know that actually it's part of their religion is Judaism.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, I guess, just did it just because I mean, it's so widespread.
Well, I mean, after a while, it just becomes a societal norm. Like Amy's saying, it's related to that, but then it's just like, anything else. It may have its roots in religion, and then it becomes part of the whole culture.
Okay, so Amy says, why the US does it is because it's in the Bible. I think that's what you're saying, but it's not that way in other countries. So
it would be interesting to know just how prominent that is in worldwide.
Yeah. I know Amy was a missionary and she was in Nigeria. I'm not sure, Amy, what other countries you were in or if it was just Nigeria, but she did experience other countries and so interesting. Yeah. But the glucose water was what got us onto this topic.
Yeah, because
we went from glucose water to
circumcision.
So boys are the only ones who get glucose water, or do girls get it too? Like, do they just give it to babies to shut them up no matter what? Or
the girls, they'll give the girls glucose water too sometimes. I don't know exactly what when, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of times after surgeries, they'll give the little babies glucose water. A lot of times just to see if they're tolerating, because after surgery, we always want to make sure that people are tolerating oral intake, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's something that they will give the babies, like if mama's not in there at the moment, like say mama's breastfeeding or something, or they'll just try that before they try the milk. Because if you're going to aspirate, we want it to be not milk, we'd want it to be.
They just use water.
I don't know.
Maybe the glucose, because it tastes good, to encourage them to take it. Like even if they may not want to.
Yeah,
if
maybe.
I don't know. Then it might encourage them to try it.
I know with the babies, they don't ever give babies just water. Like almost never would they just give a baby water. And I think it has something to do with that's not my specialty. I recover children, but that's not my specialty at all. But
biome or something.
But yeah, it's because of the electrolytes, electrolyte imbalances and stuff. They don't just give water to babies.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when it comes to nursing, I don't know. I mean, I took the class. And I took the clinical. I did my clinical. That's as far as it goes. That was not my area at all. Labor, delivery, even pediatrics. I couldn't even do pediatrics because after adopting kids that were abused in foster care and came from abusive environments, I really struggled with some of those parents.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this isn't for me. I wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Some of the stories that I hear, even like as the charge nurse who has to assign the pediatric surgery patients to our peds nurses, some of the stories are just like, I mean, they're traumatizing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just hearing them secondhand.
Yeah. And I remember being in the clinical and dealing with these parents and being just seething inside, because I'm like, I went through so much to get my kids. went through all the infertility treatments, and then we adopted. I went through so much. I would never do anything to harm them or jeopardize their health. And then I come across these parents that are the way they are, and it would just make me too mad. So
yeah.
So, Amy loves chat. Amy and chat have like hour-long.
Oh, chat GP. I was like, chat. We're in the chat. What are you talking about?
We're in the chat. I haven't seen anything in chat.
It's like hour-long conversations with chat. And
listen, Amy, I have gotten in many a just brutal battle with chat GPT at work.
Yes. So chat says, sure, water helps with mild pain, but blood draws and sex. So I would think both boys and girls.
Yeah, I know they do give it to boys and girls, but like, I'm not usually the one doing it. So,
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So
next paragraph. You want to keep going, Kim?
Sure. All right. Where did my glasses go? Oh dear. I'm like, where am I? Yeah, do you ever do that? Like they'll be on your head and you're looking all over.
I've done that before.
This time. Okay. So 2.3.1 ketogenic diets and fasting, similarities and differences. A ketogenic metabolism is more general than fasting. Ketosis is defined by rising serum ketone body concentrations that exceed a clinically defined threshold. See below. Ketosis occurs consistently in some metabolic conditions and can serve as a marker for them. While some of these conditions, such as diabetic or alcoholic ketoacidosis, are pathological, in others, ketosis is physiological. That is, it is benign and serves a purpose. The study of fasting or starvation has contributed significantly to our understanding of physiological ketogenic metabolism. However, complete abstinence from food is only one way, and an unnecessary extreme one, to induce this metabolic state. Ketosis is the normal metabolic response to a prolonged demand for glucose that exceeds what is available from exogenous dietary and endogenous synthesized in the body sources combined in the presence of adequate fat. Simply minimizing carbohydrate intake and moderating protein intake are normally sufficient to induce ketosis in humans. When ketosis is maintained nutritionally rather than through fasting, the dire consequences of total starvation do not apply. Some of the concerns about the safety of KDs stem from starvation rather than ketogenic metabolism. Nonetheless, fasting metabolism is a good place to start for comparison and contrast.
Okay, so this is the diagram, the figure 2.1, which is called ketosis in humans requires low glucose, but does not require caloric or nutrient insufficiency. So basically it's just showing that there's the two extremes. There's the fully fed high glucose from what you eat, and what your body produces. Then you've got the opposite extreme of ketosis from fasting and starvation, and where we want to be is where it crosses over. We want to be in the low glucose, fully fed part of the diagram, which is where it crosses.
Yeah.
So that's all that's saying.
All right. Okay, I can take the next one.
All right.
Page 82, 2.3.1.2. In the animal kingdom, endogenous glucose production is the norm for meeting glucose needs. Glucose requirements in mammals are frequently met indirectly because the amount of the digestible carbohydrate in the habitual diet of many mammals does not meet whole body glucose requirements. Rather, many animals routinely synthesize the majority of the glucose they need by the process of gluconeogenesis, or G&G. Because glucose synthesis is very important, many diverse substrates can be used for G&G. In primary herbivorous animals, such as ruminants and hindgut fermenters, gluconeogenic substrate comes largely from short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, also called volatile fatty acids, derived from microbial fermentation of fiber in the gastrointestinal tract in herbivorous animals such as ruminants and hindgut fermenters. In primarily carnivorous animals such as felines and canines, amino acids from sorry, I lost my line here, from dietary proteins serve as the primary gluconeogenic substrate. Both of these are used in more omnivorous species, as well as some exogenous glucose from digestible carbohydrates. It is a characteristic trait of omnivores to have some flexibility in adapting the rate of G&G in response to dietary carbohydrate, less when carbohydrate intake is high and more when carbohydrate intake is low. Because G&G is the typical way many animals manage glucose requirements, including the herbivorous primates with which we share ancestry, we can dismiss concerns that having to continuously provide for glucose needs by G&G, as is the case on a ketogenic diet, would impose undue stress on the human body. So they're saying, I guess, that we always hear that we're supposed to eat carbohydrates in order to have enough. And what this is saying is that our bodies account for that naturally.
Right. And different types of animals have different digestive systems
Mm-hmm.
and which triggers this process through different means. I remember hearing people talk about how, you need fiber because of this process they're talking about, the fermentation of fiber in your GI tract. But that's what happens in herbivorous animals, basically plant eaters. And I know so many of the carnivore docs will say we're lions, we're different. They're the carnivores, the felines and canines. They get the protein is what promotes the gluconeogenesis in carnivores. So I guess it seems like it would be really easy to verify,
So I think basically, what's going to happen is, it can use your protein and you can have gluconeogenesis happen from that. But I think one thing that I've always been worried about, I've recently kind of come to the conclusion that maybe I shouldn't be as worried about it, is that I would think that I would just be having gluconeogenesis from eating too much protein. And from what I've heard several of the carnivore and keto doctors say is that you don't, is that your body's smart. It's going to keep the optimal amount of sugar in your bloodstream through gluconeogenesis. But just because you ate more of that, it's not going to immediately just do that. It's not going to just, I ate too much protein. Now I'm just going to prompt gluconeogenesis to have more sugar,
Right.
without me eating sugar. That's been something that's really been puzzling to me since I started this. And one of the reasons why I wanted to read this book to see if I could get confirmation of that. And I might be going off on a tangent. Sorry, Lynn.
No, that's okay.
Because I've actually heard that a lot, that there are some people who say to be aware of eating too much protein. And I really think, especially as you get older, that and women especially need more protein.
Yeah,
and
I mean, there's actual data on that. There are studies, for every study's not useless,
I often wonder if I'm getting enough, because I'm not a really big eater. I mean, I know there's people that can eat a big, tons of food at one time.
I can't.
Well, I think, Lynn, with you eating only meat, that you would definitely be getting enough.
Hopefully.
I noticed that when I deviate from that and when I try doing keto diet, I really do struggle with getting enough protein. It's just because the bulk of the food. No matter what I eat, there's that bulk that's going to fill your belly, and if I eat a big salad, I definitely won't eat enough protein for the day.
Yeah.
And I think the trick more than anything is increasing that fat, the fat intake along with the protein.
Yeah.
But for the people who, say that you can eat too much protein and that it causes you to have too much sugar, I'm like you, Kim. I had heard that and I was concerned about it.
But I have not found any evidence that that's true.
I haven't either.
This is where we need Dr.
I could be wrong, guys. Like, we're studying here. So
yeah,
we need Dr. Nelson to pop in and tell us.
Yeah, Dr. Nelson, where are you?
I've heard Bart K and stuff talk on this type of stuff. I'd be interested to see what he says about it.
Amy, ask chat.
Yeah, what does chat say?
Not that chat. I mean, oh my goodness. You got to be careful with chat, right? Chat GPT.
Yeah, because I think we've talked about this before. I need to find it, but Dr. Berry had a discussion with Chat GPT about, I believe it was the vitamin that's found in carrots that, and it being the version of that vitamin. What is it? The vitamin that's so good for your eyes, and it's in carrots. But anyway,
vitamin A?
Yes, and he was saying that everybody can't convert that, and it's not the same. And he had this argument with Chat GPT and finally got it to acknowledge that he was right. It was on there somewhere, but it took him a while.
If you argue with chat long enough.
Yeah, I did the same thing with it.
You can win.
I can't remember what we were talking about now, but
so Amy said that when she has reactive hypoglycemia with a blood sugar drop, it was only protein that will help her recover. Now you've had gastric bypass surgery.
I was wondering why you're having reactive hypoglycemia if you're not eating sugar, because usually that's like I used to have that all the time. And that's usually where you'll eat sugar and then you'll, like, say your sugar level in your blood your glucose level started here. You'll eat a bunch of sugar and then your glucose level will go lower than it started out, which that's reactive hypoglycemia. And usually it's only from eating sugar. So I wonder why you're having that. Are you a carnivore?
He's carnivore. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that would make sense because you can definitely prompt gluconeogenesis from protein, from any amount of protein.
Well, it's interesting because she can only recover by eating protein.
Yeah.
So my question is, have you tried carbohydrates? Have you, when you have the reactive hypoglycemia, have you tried hard carbohydrates or, fats? Let's see.
I wonder if she just doesn't want to eat I don't think you could recover it with eating fats.
So she says she doesn't have it anymore after 10 months on carnivore. It stopped about 4 months in. Interesting. Okay. So maybe you had more of a prolonged adaptation phase to the carnivore diet because of the gastric bypass surgery.
It sounds like your body was still pretty dependent on sugar at that point.
That would be my guess.
Most people who are strict carnivore and who have been on it for a long time, they their sugar is so low, but they don't feel any effects of it because their body's not running on sugar.
Yeah. Okay. So she says, I used to have reactive hypoglycemia a lot, and then it was just occasionally, if I didn't get my sugar back up with anything but protein, it would just cause another drop.
Because you're just feeding that. You're just it's like a vicious cycle,
it's a spike and a drop, whereas the protein would bring it up and sustain.
Protein's going to be more of a gradual.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that.
I would imagine, though. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about all the diabetic patients that I've worked with. It's like, how quickly can you get your blood sugar up with protein versus with a carbohydrate? I mean, when it's low blood sugar, with patients, they tell them drink, 4 ounces of apple juice or orange juice and, or take your glucose tabs,
See, we used to give them peanut butter so they would have like that bit of protein. with a little bit of sugar too, but it wouldn't just be a pure sugar dump,
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I would say peanut butter would probably be better than just pure sugar.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a little girl, my mom's been telling me, eat your protein for breakfast. Even when, we were all on standard American diets. She knew that back then, that, and I mean, she's a smart lady, so it's not that far out of the way that she would know that, but I have found that to be true no matter what diet you're on. If you get that protein in the morning, it's just going to set you up to.
And it lasts. It'll
guys. I'm like going on tangents here.
No, this is good. I like the discussion. I remember when I was growing up, and I was never a big breakfast eater. So, but my mother would say you wanted to eat something that would stick to your ribs so you wouldn't get hungry.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. I was thinking of that the other day, that stick to your ribs thing.
Yes.
Or another funny one was, like if something had a weird taste or tasted bitter, or she'd say, well, woo, that'll put hair on your chest. And I remember as a little kid thinking, why would I want hair on my chest?
I heard that too. Like, I don't want that. Okay, so I guess we're calling him Chad. Chad says that no protein does not cause sugar spikes, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I think Chad's right.
Yeah. For her, she would within 3 to 5 minutes would stop shaking and having the high blood. Okay, so
Chad is very smart, and the body is also very smart. Yeah. And no matter what, like, we do know that our ancestors have been eating a mixed diet. Okay, there's no evidence that we were strictly carnivores, like across the board. I mean, that would be There's actual evidence for that, right?
Using voice texting, it sounded like Chad. That's okay. We can call him Chad.
I think we should call him Chad.
Yeah,
but no matter what you're eating, even if you're eating a mixed diet, your body is smart, and it wants to keep that ideal level of sugar in your body. And the reason why it's not able to do that is because we've just simply overwhelmed it. I'd say over the last 100 years, not to be exact on that, but with just all the just flood of sugar and processed crap that we eat, or that we did eat. So
interesting.
All right. So the next section, I'll go ahead and read the next one.
All right.
2.3.1.3, ketosis normally happens only when gluconeogenesis is insufficient. Okay. Ketosis normally happens to a more than negligible degree only when glucose demands exceed the combination of dietary carbohydrate and gluconeogenic capacity. This means that even a diet low in digestible carbohydrate, as is common in many mammals, does not normally result in ketosis if sufficient fiber or protein is available. As a result, most animals only experience ketosis when they are malnourished.
That's interesting, because it makes me think about the whole net carb thing. With there's people that are very strict ketogenic and they go with total carbs, but then there's the whole net carb group of on the ketogenic diet, and you subtract fiber from your carbs, so it's like fiber's free.
But it's not. We all know that.
Yeah.
I think that those people that are net carb in it are not in ketosis. That's my opinion.
I kind of think that too.
Probably not. Yeah.
I mean, don't hate me for saying it, but that's what I really have always thought.
Yeah.
You may be right.
And maybe as we delve into this particular section, because like I'm thinking cats would have to be, because I mean, unless they eat cat food, which of course has other crap in it. Some people even put vegetables in cat food, which is ridiculous, because I mean, they really are obligate carnivores. So they would have to be in ketosis all the time. Yeah. I mean, they would just have to be, but maybe we'll get into as we go here. Okay. So she says, as we will see, humans are an exception to this rule. Humans today diverge from the common pattern of meeting most energy needs from glucose derived by G and G. This is partly because we have a limited ability to get enough substrate. Compared with herbivores, our colons and cecum,
Cecum.
okay, cecum. Thank you.
That
The
must be
parts,
like the UK spelling or something of the word.
yeah, because it's CAE, which is threw me off. Okay,
Yeah.
so cecum, because I don't think I've seen it spelled that way
Cecum is
before.
where the small intestine and the large intestine meet.
Okay, where the small and large intestine meet. Okay.
At least.
Okay, so compared with herbivores, our colons and cecum, the parts of the gut devoted to housing bacteria that generate SCFAs, are drastically smaller, leaving us with less than 10% calories derivable this way. And compared with typical carnivores, we have limited capacity to metabolize protein because of the detoxification of metabolites required. These combined limits constrain gluconeogenic substrates. Moreover, humans have exceptionally large brain size, requiring exceptionally large amounts of energy. Brain tissue is unable to use fat for energy directly. This is thought to be because brain tissue is highly susceptible to damage from reactive oxygen species, ROS. Fatty acid oxidation generates high levels of reactive oxygen species, making it more dangerous than other potential fuels. Whether or not this is the case, I'm starting to insert words now. Whether or not this is the reason for physiological constraint on brains, the inability of a tissue that is relatively enlarged in humans to use fat means that the demand for glucose is also relatively intensified. To meet their entire body needs with glucose, humans would appear to need to either maximize G&G through a combination of maximum protein and fiber intake and eating only as much carbohydrate as is required to make up the difference, or simply increase carbohydrate intake. However, another solution to this metabolic quandary is to use ketone bodies, which are produced from fat. By partially metabolizing fat in the liver and sending the metabolites, ketone bodies, to the brain, we allow some of the ROS generation to occur outside the brain. Moreover, we partially relieve the need for glucose, which is difficult for humans to obtain in sufficient quantities via fiber or protein. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm just kind of lost on that whole section. I admit it.
Okay, so they say people are different. It sounds like they're saying that fiber is neutral. Am I reading that wrong?
Well, and I mean, we kind of know it is because fiber is not digested, so it's excreted.
So let's see. It says, as compared with typical carnivores, we have limited capacity to metabolize protein. Okay, that's weird.
This says even a diet low in digestible carbohydrate, as is common in many mammals, does not normally result in ketosis if sufficient fiber or protein is available.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. So if you have too much fiber or too much protein, you can keep you out of ketosis.
Duh. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That way.
That makes sense too, really, as far as like what I've experienced, because I was always in a very, of course, I did usually test in the morning, so that could have been the reason. You know, I probably should have tested, according to what I'm reading now, I should have tested later in the day because I probably used up a lot of my ketones while I was sleeping, right? And your body just gets more efficient at it. So you don't keep a high level of ketones in if you're always in ketosis. But I would have a very low level of ketones in the morning. And I don't know. I guess maybe. So I had worried that I was eating too much protein. So I've gone back and forth about this, guys. Like the more I learn, almost the more confused I get.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm clear on something. So the part where it's talking about the brain, it says that the brain tissue is highly susceptible to damage from the reactive oxidative species, and fatty acid oxidation generates high levels of the reactive oxidative species, making it more dangerous than other potential fuels. So the fatty acid oxidation, based on the previous paragraph, would you say is that the one that comes from the plants? Because in the previous paragraph, it was talking about the herbivores, that they get their substrate, gluconeogenesis substrate, from short chain fatty acids. Is that what it's referring to? The volatile fatty acids?
I think she's going
because I don't
the long way into
this was
saying
fatty acids from fats.
Yeah, I think she's going the long way of saying that the ketone that the brain can use the ketones. It needs the glucose, but it also can use the ketones, that the ketones would do the same thing, and it can't use the fat directly. So that's why the ketone bodies are like, why it would use those. In other words, like running off of fat, you have it. I'm not quite sure how to verbalize what I'm thinking.
Part of this thing about ketosis normally happens only when gluconeogenesis is insufficient. So you know how they say you have to like basically deplete your stores of glycogen, before your body gets really like in the zone of fat adapted ketosis. I wonder if that's partly what this is talking about.
I think it is. I think this is talking about it's obviously talking about the process of gluconeogenesis, but we have to, which is fed by, like they said, the exogenous and the endogenous is this fed.
In other words, we can make our own glucose and our own fuel without having to consume it.
Right. But if you need, like, in order to have the optimal amount, in order to run off of glucose for fuel, you need to have whatever your body synthesizes plus what you eat. If you decrease the type of food that will produce it, then you're going to run out of your stores, right? Because it's just only storage to work out of. And then you're going to have to convert over to ketones.
But your body can produce it from protein.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So we have a comment here from Amy's chat. Also said, if someone is very sensitive or consumes excessive protein without fat or fiber to balance it, there may be a slight increase in glucose. But not as
I experienced that.
Sharp as a spike from carbs.
Because I don't eat when I am strictly carnivore, I don't eat enough fat, I don't think. To kind of make it right, and I would notice that my sugar will be much lower when I do a ketogenic diet and I'm eating meat and veg. My sugar is much lower. Like it'll be 80s. If I am strict carnivore, that's just eating the meat with the fat, no additional fat added, I will be like 110.
So have you tried increasing the percentage of fat to see what that does to your blood sugar?
No.
I'd be curious to know what would happen, because
I know when I've maybe once or twice, like with butter, and it just gave me diarrhea.
I can tell a difference. Like, for example, if I eat, like there were a few days when I was on vacation where like I had steaks several times in a row, like in a shorter period of time than I normally would. And I would get the ribeyes, and I would always tell them when I ordered the steaks, because this was eating out, but I would tell them to leave fat on, don't cut any fat off, give me the fattiest steak that you've got and stuff. And I noticed when I ate more fat like that, the fat that actually comes on the meat, but then more of that actual fat, that I could tell a difference in how I felt. It was amazing. It was just this different feeling than like just eating a regular hamburger or, burger patties, but you know what I mean? It was a different feeling because there just wasn't as much fat in that burger as there was on that steak. And so I ate the fat that came with it, but there was more fat than I normally consume.
And
I could tell.
I've heard Dr. Berry explain it like, if your sugar is higher while you're, and I'm not talking about like really high, but just like what I'm talking about, like just above 100 or whatever. He said he believes that is more of a physiologic thing than like a, like a disease process type thing. It's just the way that is normal for, some people when they're eating a high protein diet kind of thing, And I'd like to talk to him more about it just to see if he could elaborate on that. But I have heard him mention that.
I'd be curious to know if there's been any, like how much research has been done. And maybe they'll go into it in the book. Yeah, I mean, possibly they'll go into it in the book. I mean, it looks like we do have some references here. But so Amy says, Kim, me too. I have way more protein than fat. My weight loss is slow and end up and down each week. I'm eating fat by having sour cream and cream cheese and butter or coconut oil. And I know I talked to Amy a lot. We spend a lot of time on the phone because we're, working together on the books. But so I know, I know with Amy, because of the gastric bypass, she told me that the dairy actually works better for her. Like she doesn't have the bad symptoms as opposed to having other fat. So she uses dairy mostly for her fat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would imagine that gastric bypass surgery even further complicates it.
See, my weight loss, Amy, so right now, I'll just let the cat out of the bag. I am doing a ketogenic diet right now, and I have been for probably about a month.
How's it going?
And I've told these ladies, that I was adding stuff back. I just, I am carnivore nurse Kim on here. I don't want to lie about that, but at the same time, I don't want to just like up and change my name because I'm trying something. I'm trying a thing.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, N equals 1.
Yeah. So, anyway, but when I was eating strict carnivore, which was well over a year, okay, like we're talking about at least a year and 3 months, my weight loss stalled for, I'm talking like 9 months, guys. A ridiculous, like I was embarrassed to even talk about it because I thought, how stupid am I to continue doing what I'm doing and just eat more meat, just eat more fatty meat. Like, it sounds really stupid to people outside of our community. But I will tell you guys that, and well, I can't really say for sure that I haven't been keto. Okay. Like I've gone off the rails a couple of times, but I think it's just the water weight alone that I've gained back. I've gained some weight back, like probably about 10 pounds.
So, okay. So, I mean, what is your plan?
I don't know. It's up in the air.
How many carbs do you have in each day?
I'm not counting.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
And this weight gain is not, when I say that I'm doing ketogenic now, there have been some episodes where I have, because I am a carb addict. I am. I've just like, you give me an inch and I'm off the rails with it,
Right.
So
You're like me. Like I'm not a moderator. I have to be an abstainer. Like I can't
I'm
moderate.
probably not even in ketosis now because I keep going off the rails with it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to come to a happy medium where I can decide what I can eat, what I can't eat, what's working for me, what's not. I know grains for sure. Like I wanted to eat grains so bad. So I thought, how could brown rice be bad for you? My brain can tell me anything. Okay.
Yeah.
That was one of that's an off the rail thing for me. Like just completely off the rails with brown rice. Right.
Yeah.
That has led to a 10-pound weight gain, and we're talking like just a handful of times eating those kind of things.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely need to get back into ketosis.
And doesn't it make you like, isn't it infuriating when it comes to weight? I'm not talking about other things like joint pain and other illnesses, but just weight. Let's just look at weight, where you can have people who eat whatever they want, or you can have people who eat like they're vegetarians and they're skinny as a rail. And then you eat some rice.
Yeah.
And gain weight.
I eat some rice and look at my face. Like you can tell. I don't even have to tell you guys what I've been eating. Look.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? It's like and we're just all different. And
I know.
Obviously metabolically there's something else, going on.
It's so, yeah, exactly. Like you said, obviously metabolically there's something else going on. Yes. And what I'm starting to think more and more is that it is where we have built our fat cells out of seed oils, and that is resistant to releasing that fat. It's hard to metabolize that. It's hard to get those. I can't remember what I was listening to recently where it was like a specialist on these things, and they were talking about how when you build your fat cells using seed oils, those fat cells don't just go bye-bye,
Isn't that the woman who did the dark calories? I know she talked about, Dr. Berry interviewed her not too long ago, and I've seen her on some other things. Her name escapes me at the moment, but I remember her book. I think it's called like Dark Calories. And of course, don't let the title fool you. It's not so much about counting calories or anything. It's just the fact that the seed oils are really bad for us.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing Dr. Eads several years ago even saying that he thought that the seed oils were worse even than the increase in carbs. Not that he was saying it's okay, but because people, depending on just how you're made, some people can tolerate more carbs than others.
Yeah.
But he was just saying that I guess that the damage that those seed oils do has really been underestimated or hasn't been considered enough. And of course now it is, but
yeah. And I definitely have intentions of it at the very minimum being low carb. Okay. Like long term. I just don't think that high carb diet is right, but I'm just trying different things. And I will say that I feel, even though I have gained back some weight, I feel better eating organic vegetables, and I have totally eliminated all fruits, including berries for now, because I had learned from some sources online that that could be still feeding my candida. So what my candida was doing was it was kind of just laying dormant on carnivore. And then if I would give it anything at all, like even a little bit of heavy cream, it would just be like, it was back with a vengeance. So I'm just doing some experimenting, and when I land someplace, I will let you guys know. But for now, I'm experimenting.
And that's what we all do.
And I feel good. Like I don't feel bad. I feel a little puffy, from the grains. I definitely think I should avoid grains.
Yeah.
Grains, dairy, sugar, and what else? Oh, and fruit for now.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to leave all of those out for at least 3 months, starting, like a week ago. And I'm going to see what that does.
Yeah. Well, it's good to give it a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And evaluate it and see.
And I have noticed that my histamine symptoms have actually gotten better.
Oh,
so I don't know. I have this theory that when you deprive your gut bacteria of like some of the fibrous foods and things that they eat, that they start acting up, because that was the point in my, like when I started all this restrictive dieting was when I really started having histamine problems.
Well, could it be die-off?
For 7 years?
Yeah, it's a little excessive.
No, I don't think so.
But I mean, I'm talking about from depriving, because you weren't on carnivore for 7 years.
No, I was on keto from about 7 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Not the whole time, but
yeah,
more on than off.
Okay. Yeah. So die off would be earlier on.
Yeah, there's so many things that can cause histamine issues. But I have noticed that it's this really weird thing. Like when I totally deprive my candida, it gets worse outwardly, like before it gets better.
Well, that's why I was wondering if it was die-off.
It's like, very strange.
Are you kind of at a low level, maybe still feeding it just enough?
That's what I think.
And
I think with the berries and with the heavy cream here and there, and then like sometimes I would have whipped cream, which is essentially heavy cream, right? I think I was just always just giving it just enough to where it was like, okay, we'll just hang out here,
So it sounds like it's like my house plants. It's survival of the fittest. They get fed, hopefully, and watered enough to barely survive and hang on.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, these are just theories I have because I've been through this stuff.
Maybe those times when you get stricter, maybe then you're experiencing some die-off.
I mean, but over a year? I mean, I was on carnivore for a year and 3 months.
Well, you had like raging candida.
I know.
So hard to say.
I mean, it seems to be not coming back like just from as long as I leave out the dairy and the fruits and stuff, it seems to be okay. But
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not trying to change or make this whole thing about me.
No, I'm enjoying the discussion.
It's just, something that I kind of wanted to let everybody know that, I'm not trying to be like a poser as a carnivore, but, I mean, I might just make my name Nurse Kim, and then I am what I am, and y'all can deal with it.
Okay, so Amy says yes, even over a year. Yeah, and I mean, you did have raging. You had a really severe case of candida.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My first thought is just that it was prolonged die-off.
Or like maybe because none of us is perfect, okay? I mean, like I know, I've had things that weren't on plan periodically, not all the time, but I mean, like for example, when my brother and I have gone on our road trips, I have not been strict carnivore. Like I had some cauliflower pizza. I had, I think I told y'all about the little bit of beans that I had when I was finishing off that Irish breakfast. I won't do that again. But I think the point is that, like, I think we can sometimes feed those gut bacteria just enough, like Lynn was saying, to like hang on. Yeah. And then when we do go a prolonged period without it, then the bacteria start screaming like, I'm starving, and it does what it can to get your attention until it finally does, like it's in its death throes right now. You know what I'm saying? And then then finally it dies.
And when they're organisms, right? So when they die, they produce byproducts that are not good for us.
Oh yeah, the die-off symptoms are awful, but usually that happens pretty early.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting to see, but I mean, I could tell, like I didn't get into like I didn't notice a big difference in my mental health because I mean, obviously when I was like on vacation or, going on my road trips, couple little trips I went on with my brother and stuff. I mean, I was in a good mood and I didn't eat anything that was enough to make me feel really bad. But I mean, I did notice a difference. Like my energy just wasn't quite up there like it normally was. I mean, I was still feeling pretty good, and it wasn't like I was depressed and my anxiety didn't come back, but yet there was something that just wasn't quite right. So I can tell a difference if, when I do go off plan. And, but I do have my 3 diehard rules. They're very similar to Kim's. One is no sugar, no fruit even. I don't eat fruit. No bread or grains of any kind, pasta, anything like that. And then the seed oils, no seed oils, no like actually processed food. So I find that if I stick with that, I feel pretty good overall. But I will admit, I mean, I've felt my best when I've been strict carnivore. So but I haven't been as strict lately as I have been in the past. I'm still getting back on, because I had kind of let myself have some cauliflower pizza and some stuff like that. And whereas my brother is mostly carnivore, I'm like, he's very meat heavy, but he still will do, like, he makes these fantastic cauliflower pizzas too. I've got to say, like, he actually makes them.
Oh, that sounds good.
And they are really, really good, and they don't affect my blood sugar or anything like that. So, but and of course now we've got the holidays coming up. So, which there again, there are some of those temptations that are obviously going to be there, but
well, I
at
haven't
the same
cheated.
time, it's not the perfect time of year to decide that you're going to be really strict,
Well, and honestly, last year I stayed carnivore. I haven't cheated. I mean, honestly, I haven't cheated. It's been over 17 months, and I don't count. There's only one thing that I will do, and I don't count it as cheating, and that is taking communion at church. That is that's the one exception that I have done. Although the last time they did communion at church, it was bizarre. Like it had been a while since I had been and it's like, I didn't realize they switched over from the, like, they give you the little cups with some grape juice. And now they have a bowl of grapes. And
really,
you take a little piece of this cracker and you take a grape, and they call it pre-juice. And I'm like, what? Like, this is so bizarre. I'm like,
it is.
I don't understand that at all. I don't know. Wow, that's so strange. Like, do they just not have enough volunteers to pour the juice? And so they're like, here's a bag.
They'll just go to Aldi's and buy a bunch of grapes.
Throw in a bowl.
Well, I don't think it's going to hurt you, Lynn.
No. So I took a tiny little bite off of the cracker, and I took a little dinky little nibble off of the grape. I threw the rest of it away.
Wow.
No, it wasn't gonna hurt me. It was like, but
that's funny though. Grapes. I guess you're right, Leah. Maybe they just don't have, or Kim, they just don't have enough people to pour it. So they're just,
that was my thought. Like, okay, that's so weird. I don't understand, but okay.
That's so funny.
I know, isn't it funny? I mean, I'd walk up to, and they don't pass it down the rows. They have a table set up when you go get it, right? I'll go back to the communion table in my shop. I was like, what? Grapes, a bowl of grapes. What does Amy say? That might sound dumb, but even an empty house needs dusting. And even when you're not adding to it, it might still need to be dusted. The candida might be stored in your body. Okay. So she's back talking about the candida. I was going, what does this have to do with grapes for communion?
I mean, grapes would feed candida. But I mean, you always have candida in your body. And part of this is that I have like 3 little immune deficiencies that are not like major deals, but one of those 3 things is why, in my belief, is why my body cannot fight candida like everybody else. It not fight it, but it can't keep it at bay. Like Candida is just supposed to be there, just coexisting with the rest of the bugs, and mine's like, no, I'm special,
It's not supposed to overgrow, but it is an opportunistic organism. Given the right environment, it will create overgrowth.
Yes.
So,
but whatever I do, guys, I'm going to give myself some time, and I'm going to settle on something that works for me. And I think in my mind, it's probably going to be a meat heavy diet of some sort, low carb, but I don't think long term it's going to be carnivore, because I just want more than that. I don't think we're carnivores. I think it's a good tool, but like, I don't want to be carnivore for the rest of my life. I never did. So
I know, and you've been very open and upfront about that.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm suspecting for myself that I may need to be. I don't know yet, and I know that I never want to go back to where I was before.
Yeah,
and right now it's kind of I still have healing to do. I think for myself. And I was on a call on our Healing Humanity Life site with Dr. Wiedemann, and she really emphasized vitamin P for me, which is patience.
Yeah. I need that too, honestly. I think we all do.
I think we all need vitamin P and some vitamin J. And I need to contact, well, I'm not going to get into that whole story, but I mean, there was a blog post and I met, but anyway, at Dr. Berry's at the Low Carb for Better Health. And if I can find it, I can find the link. I'll maybe post it or something, post a link to it, because I think we all just need joy too, and to appreciate life and our surroundings and to have community. And but this blog post was just amazing, and I'll share it. I'll find a
Dr. Nelson.
Dr. Nelson,
hey, about you earlier.
Yeah, we've been reading some confusing stuff about gluconeogenesis and.
Okay, so Kim, now that he's here, what was your question? Do you remember?
Oh, I was going to. It was something that I've actually asked several people about, and nobody's really been able to answer me so far, doctors included, by the way. But the question is, can you eat too much protein to where you basically cause yourself to go into gluconeogenesis and make your blood sugar run too high? Or just keep yourself from losing weight just because you're eating too much protein? Because I was telling these ladies, I would always eat the meat with the fat, but I never added any fat in any way. So like my ideal time in carnivore was I would eat 2 ribeyes a day, and I'm talking about big ribeyes. So like, I'm eating a large amount of food, maybe even too much food. I don't know, but I would eat until I was, comfortably stuffed, as Dr. Berry says. And I just wonder if I was eating too much protein and spiking my glucose and getting myself out of ketosis. So if you know the answer to that, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I've heard differing opinions too, and it may be different for women versus men, or I don't know. I know women, we're a whole different, almost a different species here because of all of our hormones and everything.
Well, and then if you can eat too much protein, like especially like, I refuse to consider myself old, but chronologically, I'm almost 59 years old. So, I'm concerned. I want to make sure I have enough protein, but at the same time, I don't want to eat too much. And possibly because I've noticed, and it could be for a number of reasons, but like my fasting blood sugar has gone up. It was up like, what was it? I think it was like 110 or something.
Yeah,
the last time.
Mine wasn't quite 110, but it was over 100.
Yep.
And that was on full carnivore.
Yep. And my fasting, or my A1C, was like 5.5, which is just like right there on the, on the bubble of what you would consider to be pre-diabetic. However, I did have the fructosamine test done, and so I was, flat in the middle of the range on that. So I know there's factors that can affect, like if you're an alcoholic, it can actually make your A1C falsely too low. So there are factors that can make it falsely too high. So I think maybe my A1C is okay, but yet at the same time, especially wanting to prevent diabetes, I don't want to end up like my mother. So it is concerning when your fasting blood sugar is 110. So
well, and my A1C was 6 on full carnivore.
Well,
for
sometimes
over a year.
I wonder if we're still afraid of fat too much.
I mean, I don't really like to sit around and eat fat. I'd rather eat some vegetables.
I mean,
if I've got to lower my protein intake, I would rather just eat some vegetables and be keto. Yeah. Like, I don't want to eat a bunch of fat. I don't think, like, eating butter gives me diarrhea.
Right. I mean,
I don't know.
I was surprised when I did some tracking just for a little bit that it really, like, I was at 75 to 85% fat per day. And the quantity of fat wasn't nearly as much as I thought it needed to be in order to achieve that percentage. But maybe we should be adding some. So Dr. Nelson says a lot of people talk about protein toxicity. At the end of the day, some people may need to restrict the total amount of food ingested, in particular if you are insulin resistant. So total food. So maybe you were eating too much.
I mean, I guess that's possible. It's probably highly probable, actually, because what I would do is I would get steaks, and it didn't matter if I got the large ones from Sam's Club or the regular ones from Kroger. I would eat the whole thing. And then, like, my brain doesn't say I'm done until my plate is clean, So for whatever weird reason that is, it's probably something to do with childhood, I'm sure, but
And so you didn't add, like, you didn't put butter on your steak or anything like that. You just ate the steak.
Just eat the steak.
All right. So Amy says, how do you know if you're no longer insulin resistant? I mean, I've had my insulin checked.
Yeah, if your insulin is still high, right?
Yeah.
And there are like 2 or 3 things you can look at.
Now, Dr. Boz had a video that I just watched. Yeah. Dr. Wilson said labs.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 things in your labs is what I mean.
So Dr. Boz, I watched this video from Dr. Boz yesterday. And she goes, I can look at you and tell if you're insulin resistant. And of course, she talked about skin tags and skin texture and everything. But she also said you're supposed to have hair on your toes.
I actually do. I shave it off.
Oh yeah, she said if you don't, or she said people.
Well, that's good to know.
I've never had hair on my toes.
Resistant will not have hair on their feet, or they may lose hair like on their part of their leg or something. So if you don't have hair on your toes, I guess according to Dr. Boz, you may be insulin resistant.
I don't know if that's always true though, because my husband, he can't grow hair on his legs, and he never has. Like, and he's been a skinny little thing, so I don't think he was.
There's got to be a genetic component to it, because I had a good friend growing up, and her mom was full Korean, and she was half, and she did not have body hair, and she had a tiny little bit, like she would shave a little bit, but then she had her cousin who was full Korean. No body hair, like she didn't have a lick of hair on her arms, or she didn't have to shave at all, no hair on her legs. And you can't tell me the whole Korean population is insulin resistant.
Right. And I think that's also true of Native Americans, that they can't grow facial hair either, as far as I know, from what I understand, that they don't have like what you'd call body hair either. Like when they saw Europeans that had beards and stuff, that was like that was just unheard of. They had never seen anything like that. So I do think genetics has something to do with that. But the hair on your toes, I thought that was really funny.
So Amy says her A1C is always 5.6. I've not had fasting insulin. Blood sugar levels are always between 80 and 95 to 100. I would say, yeah, you got to get your insulin levels checked. Do a fasting insulin level.
But you know what I was going to say earlier, and I know we've mentioned this before talking about this, but with my A1C of 6 now, which it's never been that high ever, and that was it on a full carnivore diet. I should have, and I neglected to before I changed my diet a little bit. I should have had my fructosamine checked.
I remember you said you were going to get that done.
It didn't happen. So.
It's like
we'll never know. The world will never know.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we are going on, and I haven't read, which is fine. We should probably wrap it up because I got this is my first.
Well, do you want to read real quick?
No, that's okay. Because this is I have 3 things going on. I have 2 live streams and I have a Zoom call on the Healing Humanity Life site, and I need mental breaks in between.
Okay. Well, sorry, Lynn. We yapped too much.
I have loved this discussion. This has been great.
Yeah,
it's absolutely fine. And so we'll leave off at 2.3.2, which is the phases of fasting, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
Because we can just get into the new topic of fasting when we meet next time.
Okay. And if you guys see my name change, it's just because I can only be me, and I cannot be defined by a diet.
Well, I don't think
I would still feel
you
guys
it,
in.
but that's
what'd you say?
I don't think you should have to change your name because you're doing an N=1. I mean,
I just don't necessarily want to be defined as a carnivore. Like, I kind of think like Nisha does. I'm just on the Kim diet, whatever works for Kim is what I'm going to end up on. So
we got to figure out what works. And Dr. Nelson said,
who knows? I mean, I may go back to carnivore. I don't know, but I don't want to be a fraud at the same time.
He says fructosamine only looks back a few weeks. So there you go. You can go on carnivore for another month, get your fructosamine tested.
Yeah, there you go. And then you'll have a baseline.
And then you'll have your baseline. All right.
We'll
okay.
See. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll keep y'all filled in.
We will wrap it up. And I don't know, maybe it's okay to go on even get your fructosamine checked while you're doing what you're doing.
That certainly couldn't hurt. Because
since I never made it while I was carnivore to actually go do it, I'd say chances are low. But if I do, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, definitely let us know if you do. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for all the discussion. Thanks for everyone who's here.
Yeah, nice to see you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
I hope everybody has a great weekend.